Hi everyone, I'm the plant propagator and welcome to my channel. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about what I do, please subscribe to my channel. Today I'm in Southwest Florida. It's just a beautiful day today. And what I want to do is share some other issues or problems that I'm having with some of my orchids. And those problems you can see right here. So this is a Dendrobium orchid right here. And the issues are, as you can see, it looks like there's some kind of damage associated with this. So the first thing is and it looks like it's insect damage. It looks like there's some insect that's been chewing on the flowers. And this is something that I've seen before. I'm pretty sure I know what was going on. But in order to really see what's going on, you have to look at them. Some of the insects that infect our plants, well, most of the insects are really small. So in order to see what's going on, at least for me, I do have to see it, and I've got to use a loop. You can cut these off and take them in the laboratory underneath the microscope. Most of you don't have access to that, but if I do, and what happens is the insects usually, not always, but in these cases, these insects will be gone by the time I pull this flower off and take it in the lab. So what I have is a loop. I have a very small loop that you can get on Amazon, and this is an old loop. I carry this with me a lot of different places, and I'm kind of a science geek in that capacity. And what I do is because I like to look and I like to see things at this level. So what I think is going on here is that I think I have thrip damage, and thrips are it's a chewing insect, and thrips like to be in small spaces. They like to crawl in the flowers and cause damage. A lot of times they like to get into an immature flowers that's just starting to open. And for that reason, they're difficult to see. Well, they're small. If they are thrips, they're about a millimeter, less than a 16th of an inch. They're small. They move quickly because they like to be in tight spaces. So when you open up the flower to see what's going on, they kind of crawl out of the way. The other thing is, because they do like to hide from you, if you're going to spray or try to wash them off, they're in these confined spaces, so a contact insecticide isn't going to do you much good if they're out of the way. So you have to really surprise them in order to see them, and when you spray them, you have to be able to get access to the parts of the plants in which they're hiding. So they go into, again, flowers and closed parts, and they like to stay kind of in dark places out of the way. But let's back to this loop. So what you do, if you can see the plant on the flower, you can bend it down and take a look at the plant and the flower. That's one way to see what's going on. The other way is if the flower is kind of far out of the way, like this other flower up here, and I took this flower off, and you can see the damage that's in this flower. But this flower is so ugly at this point, and it's been so chewed up that I got no problem taking it off. And I wanted to show you the proper way to use a loop if you decide to go this route. So what you do is you hold the loop pretty close to your eye, and you hold the flower pretty close to your eye as well. So this is how you see what's going on in this, and you can see really clearly all of the damage on this flower with a loop. It's really equivalent to a microscope, but a lot cheaper and a lot more convenient just to carry around, so there's nothing to it. But you hold the loop, like I said, really close to your eye, and then the way to focus on this is you move the subject. You can move the loop a little bit, but what you see is some people want to use it like this. This is hard to do. So you hold this close to your eye, and then you focus the flower by pulling it away, and you can really see good detail as far as what's going on in this flower. And again, it's important with if thrips, and I know it's thrips because I've seen them, to kind of move things out of the way. So you move the petals out of the way because they get in between the petals and they get in these tight areas. Now, this type of damage is really indicative of thrips, but it's nice to be able to see them. They're small, they're thin, and they're really ugly, then they cause a lot of damage. I can't really think of any benefits for thrips. I'm not an entomologist. I am a plant scientist. I'm actually a plant cell biologist. I have worked with some insects in my laboratory before. So I worked with soybean aphids, and soybean aphids are cute and they're kind of cool. They reproduce if food is available. They reproduce through parthenogenesis, which means they're all females and they all have just continuous live births. So you can have lots of live births, insects made every day, and they can really, as most insects do, they can really take over a plant quickly. Aphids are cool, and I remember looking at aphids in the laboratory one day, and I saw a thrip come in the field of the microscope, and it frightened me. It was such an ugly creature, and they cause such bad damage. As you can tell, I don't like thrips. I don't mind aphids. They can do some damage as well, but the thrips are pretty bad. So how do you take care of these guys? And so you can apply different insecticides. You got to be careful with your insecticide application if the insects aren't doing any any harm, and here the harm is already done. You can just kind of let them go. But these are going to get into all of the other ones around here, so it's probably a good idea to spray. Some of the sprays that I use for general insect control is a neem oil. This is, as far as sprays go, this is pretty benign. What I do with my insecticides is I write the dose that I'm using on the outside of the container, so you don't have to search for it every time. So this is neem oil, and this is an insecticide, fungicide, and miticide. Again, this is fairly benign stuff. So and you got to get contact on the insect in order for this to do much good. Another insecticide that is, again, fairly, this is an organic insecticide. This is spinosad. And this is actually the origin of this is from bacteria. This is also approved for organic gardening, and it's the same type of thing. You've got to get good contact in order for this to do any good. So, and I have my dosage level on the side of this container as well. When I apply this, I have gloves on. I wash up after application, and you got to be careful really when you're applying any type of chemical to your plants, and you got to make sure that they're safe for orchids as well. I contacted the county extension agent in Southwest Florida here, and was actually recommended to go to the American Orchid Society website, where they have a section on treatment of thrips on their website. And on that website, what they do is you can, it gives a little background on the thrips, and what they recommend in that site is insecticidal soap, malathion or orthene. And these are a little bit more aggressive insecticides, so really be careful if you follow the use of any of these other insecticides. But those were recommended through the American Orchid Society. Again, with any of these things, be careful. I've got a tomato plant right here. I've got parsley right here, mint. Just be careful when you spray to get your other plants out of the out of the area, or protect them in some way. But those are some of the other insecticides that you could use that are recommended by the American Orchid Society. Also, you have to be aware of use of insecticides because there are beneficial insects. Believe it or not, I don't really like aphids, but there are beneficial insects, and we'll take a look through my yard at some non-beneficial insects, but some that don't cause much harm. And there are also some beneficials around as well through my yard and everywhere. So that's pretty much all that I wanted to tell you at this point. So let's go take a look at some of the other plants in my yard, where I'll show you some of the insects that don't really bother things and some of the insects that I actually like attracting in my yard. Okay, as you might have guessed, this is a tomato plant that's actually doing pretty well in a pot close to my orchids in my garden. And what I wanted to show you is
not a great insect pest, but one that really doesn't do a whole lot of damage. And so this is a leaf miner on one of the leaves, and what these guys do is they burrow in the middle sections of the leaf, and they kind of they eat it out. So they burrow out the inside of the leaf. On another, I'm going to move over to another leaf on the plant, and there's another case. But these are another case of an insect that causes damage, and you see this all over the tomato plant. But the reality of it is it really doesn't cause that much damage, so I let it go. I certainly don't need to be insect free here, and let the insects have a little chew, and I think it's okay. All right, let's look around, see what else we can find. And so we have over here, all right, this guy right, another insect, not a pest at all. So this is a monarch larvae, and it's chewing up the milkweed, and it does a lot of damage. I got a lot of larvae on this plant. We got there's a honeybee right there on this. Oop, there, it took off this leaf. And if we go up on this guy right here, there is, and may not be able to see that, right? There's another monarch larvae in there. So I've got a lot of monarchs on the milkweed that's growing in my garden here. And I really like these, even though they just completely decimate the plant. This one still has a lot of leaves on it. I'm going to show you another one. All right, let's be patient. I got to show you this first, though. This is one of my Vandas from RF Orchid that is just doing well. Not that old, just grabbed on to this tree here. It's been up here for a few months, and it's doing well. It was on the way. Oh, and down here, I just saw this. All right, so we got another monarch. So there's a lot of monarchs, and there was a bunch on this plant, and they've really done a number on this plant, but I don't see any here for right now. So they can kind of do what they're doing, and they can be pretty aggressive on defoliating these plants. So that's all I have for today. Just kind of a parting shot of the orchids in my pergola. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about what I do, please subscribe to my channel, and happy propagating.